Forest transfer window is really starting to heat up as more links to Premier League players emerge, and this time it's for a goalkeeper. Welcome to your transfer news. Hi guys, hope you're doing well and welcome to a jam-packed video for you guys on loads of transfer news. Coming up, we'll tell you about what's going on with Jose Sa from Wolves. We'll tell you about a major injury Forest have had, and I'll give you the latest on Mateta and why are Spurs suddenly so pivotal in this deal. And don't forget, Forest are playing tomorrow against Ferencváros as Robbie Keane will roll into town. So plenty to get you up to date on. So make sure you've hit the like button, make sure you've subscribed as well, and make sure to check out the sponsors Football Prizes, where you can win so many Forest genuine kits, signed, framed and everything. Let me give you a couple of examples here. Not only can you win this signed, framed Milenkovic, the Serbinator shirt, but you'd be in for a chance to win 2 hospitality tickets for the Wolves game. That's 29p. You can get an Ola Aina framed one. That's the one I want. You could get the old school 79 magical Miracle Men top. So check that one out as well. And don't forget, there's the freebie here where you can win one of Forest's current shirts as well. So scan the QR code or click on the link. And let's jump into the transfer news. Alrighty, so let's kick this off with Jose Sa, and this is kind of gonna bring in 2 players, and I'll explain, maybe even 3 actually. So Forest, just to refresh you, wanted Jose Sa when Nuno was still at the club. Nuno had worked with him or was about to work with him or whatever it was under Wolves, and he was very keen on Jose Sa. However, that didn't materialise. And in the end, Forest went and got themselves a Brazilian, and then another Brazilian, and a Scotsman now. And now it's come out that Angus Gunn is really keen on wanting to make sure that he's number 1 for Scotland when it comes to the World Cup this summer. And he feels for that to happen, he's probably going to have to leave Forest and get some game time. And I just was like, what were you expecting, bro, when you signed up? Like, seriously. Anyway, so there's potential that he might go. Now, what's even crazier about this is John Victor. So remember when John Victor did what he did against, I think it was Aston Villa, if I remember rightly, and then he looked like he was blagging an injury. Well, apparently he wasn't blagging it. Not only did he cost Forest a goal and potential points in that game, but he's cost himself being able to play probably for the rest of the season. So this is why Forest is suddenly looking for a goalkeeper. And on that list, they've dusted off the old shortlist. On there is Jose Sa. Now, Jose Sa is 33 years old. He's currently the number 1 at Wolves. They've also got Sam Johnston there, but Rob Edwards has tended to prefer to go with Jose Sa. The thing is, Wolves wouldn't really want to sell him, but at the same time, as they're pretty much nailed on or favourites to go down this season, they know that come the end of the season, he's very likely to leave anyway. So it's a question of, can they cash in a bit more money for him now while he's a Premier League goalkeeper, rather than lose out and he becomes a Championship goalkeeper and is worth a bit less. Excuse me. So the instigation on this one will be based on whether or not Rob Edwards or Wolves can find a replacement for Rob Edwards, or Rob Edwards would be okay for Sam Johnston to be the number 1 choice there. By the way, that was another keeper that was linked many moons ago with Forest. So is this one going to happen? I don't know. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not that fussed about it. I like Jose Sa. I think he's a good keeper. But 33 years old, we've already got Matz Sels in his 30s. We got Angus Gunn if he stays or goes. Then you got John Victor will be coming back at some point after his injury in a few months. Like, we're collecting a lot of keepers. And outside of Sels, honestly, they ain't that great. So I think Sels is still the number 1. Sels, as long as he stays fit, will be the number 1. I don't understand why Jose Sa would want to move into a number 2 position, potentially while he's got a number 1 spot at Wolves. But we'll wait and see on this one as Forest are pushing for it. So I know goalkeeper position isn't always the most exciting one to talk about, but the news is the news. So get your thoughts in on Jose Sa in the comments down below. Let's move on to some of the exciting news, and this is with Mateta. And as I mentioned at the top of the video, a lot of this is around what Spurs are doing right now as well. So things haven't really progressed much further forward at the time of recording this video. But we can start to eliminate some other clubs. So if you remember when I told you about the news in the first place, there was the likes of Juventus interested, Aston Villa, AC Milan, Spurs as well. So quite a few clubs are scouting and keeping an eye on Mateta. Forest currently are the front runners for him. They've already agreed personal terms with him. Yes, he wants high fees, high wages, whatever they are. Forest are willing to pay that. Juventus was still keen on him, but didn't want to pay the transfer fee that Crystal Palace were asking for. However, where does this start to unravel and become more in Forest's favour is to do with Tottenham. Because Tottenham have Kolo Muani, who's on loan to Spurs from PSG. But he is a striker that Juventus, for whatever crazy reason, because he's absolutely crap, have wanted. And they've wanted him for a while. In fact, I'm pretty sure he did a loan spell with them before. Now, in the summer, they and ahed and dillied and dallied about getting him from PSG, to the point where PSG basically got annoyed and sent him to Spurs. Spurs have realised he's crap and they're trying to get rid of him. And Juventus are reenacting and reigniting their want for him. Now, why is this important to Forest? Because if Spurs do release him back to PSG and he ends up going to Juventus, Juventus have satisfied their need for a striker, if you can call him that, whatever. So that takes them completely out the running as well. We've seen Villa basically get Tammy Abrahams over the line. And that really starts to narrow down Mateta's options to the likes of Forest or potentially Spurs. Now, can I see Spurs coming in for him? Yeah, but Spurs are tight asses. They're probably not going to pay that price. And they'll probably prefer a striker who's worse, because that's kind of how Spurs operate. If you look at the strikers they've brought in recent times, the likes of Richarlison, Solanke, Kolo Muani, if you want to add him in there. It's all a pile of crap that ends up going to Spurs. So I'd be surprised if they got a striker that is competent. So am I feeling confident about this Mateta one? I am, but I'm not at the stage where I'm like, yeah, guys, get out the Hawaiian shirts. This is done and dusted. And again, I'll say to the Palace fans, stop crying. It's amazing how many of them will drive him up to the City ground themselves. Yet last year they were kissing his butt cheeks, man, talking about he's the greatest striker ever. So this one's still, I'd say it's like in hiatus now. But the other key thing to remember is that Crystal Palace wants to bring in their own striker first before they sanction the release of it. However, I don't see that order working out, because Crystal Palace are a broke-ass club and they will need the money first, which I think means Mateta would have to leave, or an agreement would have to be in place with Forest first. It's going to be a fun couple of days as we get towards the end of the transfer window. So I'll keep you posted on that, but also just keep an eye on what happens with Kolo Muani from Spurs and if he ends up at Juventus, because it's knitted in to this whole saga as well. So that's some of the transfer news. We need to talk about the game that's coming up tomorrow, and that is, of course, against Ferencváros. Now, what can I tell you about Ferencváros? Well, they are, again, I don't know, it's a bit of a Spurs theme going on, managed by ex-Spurs player in Robbie Keane, the old gunman with his celebration there. The Irishman there is quite a good manager. I've been quietly impressed with what he's doing. He does play an aggressive front-footed style with them. He tends to play in like a 3-4-3, but he's a high-pressing, high-energy team. They're quite physical. They're very good from like set pieces and stuff, and we've been crap from those. And they do have a bit of a gunman up front in Varga, who has scored, I believe, 20 goals across all competitions so far. So they're doing very well in the Europa League. They're sitting 7th. Do I expect them to come to the City ground and win? It will depend on what team we go with. They've also got maybe some players that you guys might recognize. Naby Keita, the ex-Liverpool player, he's over there now as well. But outside of that, I can't fess to watching too many Hungarian games. But Robbie Keane is a manager I am keeping my eye on, because I think he could be an interesting shout, and we could see him moving to the Premier League quite soon. So let's have a quick look at some team options for Forest. Now, bear in mind, there are a lot of players that will be missing for this one or rested. We have to figure out what Sean Dyche will do. So get your team selections in the comments below as well. I think we're going to see a full wholesale change. I think he alluded to it in his post-match presser after the Brentford game, that we need to rest up because basically we can't really go up or down. What we can do is move within the playoff group. I don't want us to end up where we are. If you're in the middle of the playoff group, you're likely to get the first or second seeded team, which could be Lyon or Villa. Technically, we can't play Villa because of the British rule. But yeah, let's get into the team first and we'll worry about who we get after the game. Sels, I think, will get rested, and I think we will see Angus the Machine Gun coming in for there. Einar 100% needs to be rested. If Dyche doesn't rest him, then he's a goddamn idiot. So I think we'll see Savona coming in at right back. I think Murillo, he always tends to rest Murillo, so fully expect to see Morato coming in there. And then the other centre back, I don't know what he'll do here. I think Williams needs a rest. I might even bring in Zach Abbott at centre back or left back, and we'll end up with one probably first teamer in the back line, probably Milenkovic, because it tends to be. Sangare, I think, will be rested as well, and you'll see Ryan Yates attempting to score in 2 games in a row in Europe. And then definitely Gibbs White will be rested, and we're going to see McAtee, who I didn't think had a bad game in the last European game. The wingers for me will be quite obvious in terms of who's going to play. I think it will be Backwell on the right-hand side, and then we're going to see someone like Ndoye on the left-hand side. Jesus will most likely have to play up front, which makes me think that Luca may start against Crystal Palace. Why does Jesus have to start up front? Because Taiwo is not registered. Luca won't be able to be registered yet in the group stages. And then Anderson, he probably rotates him. I'm not quite sure for who. If I had to guess, maybe Dominguez at a push. I mean, we are getting a bit thin there. It would have been Douglas Luiz, but Dyche doesn't like footballers, so he shipped him off to Aston Villa. So maybe Dominguez. So I think we could see something like that, or it could be a Yates-Sangare partnership with a lot of players rotated. Is this team strong enough to beat Ferencváros? Probably, but I don't know. And I don't think they're going to care that much, and it's a shame. And the biggest shame for me is that this is the final group match in the Europa League at the City Ground, and you want something to be on it. You want the atmosphere to be good. You want fans wanting to go there. Maybe some fans are experiencing European football for the first time, and you kind of want the team sheet to match that ambition and that happiness. So, I don't know. Look, it is what it is. We'll be there for the watch along. I'll predict a 1-0 win to Forest, but in the greater scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. The Crystal Palace game will be the biggest focus for Dyche and the boys this weekend. So that's everything in a quick update for you guys. Get your thoughts in on it. What do you think the score will be on Thursday? Make sure you check out Football Prizes as well. Scan this QR code or click on the link that's pinned in the comments. Like, hype, subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow for the watch along. Come on, you Reds.